Right, we now know all we need to know about the hardware. So let's see what we can do with it. When the internal checks are finished, the main screen page, or desktop, is displayed on the monitor. We call this the desktop because this is where we keep all our main tools, documents, files and the usual mess we might find on a real desk at home or in an office. Now it's time for you to tell the computer what to do. We choose a program to start so we can communicate with the computer. The desktop shows you some of the tools and programs available for you. Here's one called Word. It lets you type letters and write stories. If you plan to use a computer this way, then this is the software application you will need the most. This one, Internet Explorer, gives you access to the internet if the computer has a connection to the telephone system and an account with an Internet Service Provider, or ISP. A computer can have dozens of different programs such as these that let you work with pictures, videos, music, words, spreadsheets and all sorts of other things. To access the programs on your computer you need a mouse. Not a real mouse, but a gadget that looks like his mechanical brother. This is a very clever mouse. Even though it lives on the table, it's able to move the pointer, or what's called the cursor, on the screen to where you want it to be. With the mouse on the desk, place your right hand on top of it, with your index finger on the left button and your middle finger on the right button, like this. You will now be able to move the mouse easily across the desk and press these buttons as needed to operate the computer functions. Of course, you can use your left hand if you prefer. How can the mouse move things on the screen? Watch and I'll show you how. The mouse is connected to the computer or keyboard by a wire or sometimes a wireless link. When you move the mouse to the right, the cursor also moves to the right. Move it up or down and the cursor moves that way too. All very amusing. But what's the point of all this? The mouse is the main method of making the computer do what you want it to do. It's the common way of getting instructions to the operating system inside the box. You move the cursor so it points to the program or file you want to open. Then you simply click the button on the left side of the mouse. You will make that program open. Most of the time you will control what you want to do on the computer by moving the mouse and clicking this button. What about the button on the right side of the mouse, I hear you ask? When you click this one, a context menu will appear. The list of items in the context menu will depend on which program is open at the time you click the button. In other words, the menu you see relates just to the file or program you have the cursor resting on at the time. Okay, that's all a bit advanced, I know. When you get used to it, the context menu makes using the computer a piece of cake. We'll come back to this a little later to explain all about it. The keyboard is next. This is another way we can tell the computer what we want it to do, and is the way we type letters and other documents. As you see, there are lots of keys with letters, numbers and symbols on the keyboard. It may look confusing, but when we break these into sections you'll find it's not so difficult. Starting at the top we see the function keys, the ones starting with the letter F and a number. Most of the time you can ignore these. They can set up the way the computer operates and are used only by experienced people who want to make changes. The central part of the keyboard has the numerical and alphabetical keys. These are the most useful because they allow us to create documents and instruct the computer what to do. There are two sets of numbers on some keyboards, one across the top of the alphabetical keys and one over to the right of the keyboard. They do exactly the same work. They just provide an option for those who prefer one set of numbers to the other. When using the right-hand side numerical keypad, the num lock key needs to be pressed to use the numbers. If it is not pressed, the keys will take on their second function, i.e. become movement keys, arrows, page up or down, and other actions. On the left side of the numerical keypad are keys with similar functions to these. The home and end keys are most often used when you're typing. Hit home and you are returned to the beginning of the line you're typing. Hit end and you're taken to the end of the line. Page up and page down are also used when typing or reading documents. These keys move one page forward or backward in the document. The arrow keys at the bottom of this set move the point at which you are typing to the left, right, or up or down as required, one space at a time. The last key in this group is delete. As the name suggests, it deletes or removes whatever you've selected in the text. It can also remove pictures, desktop icons and most other things you select, so use it with care. There are still some keys we have not identified. Backspace will delete typing from right to left. The Enter key is used to start a new paragraph when typing and to activate different programs when you've selected them. It works like double-clicking the mouse button. The main role of the Shift key is to allow you to type capital letters when using English text or Roman script. Holding the Shift key down while typing a letter turns it into a capital. The Shift key also gives you access to the characters that sit on the top of the number keys. These symbols are used when typing documents. Phew! A lot to learn if you haven't used a computer before. But it all becomes easy when you've had some hands-on practice. Now to the right side of the keyboard. Deep breath, here we go. At the top, under the line of numerals, we have the Tab key. Hitting this key is a way to jump forward a preset distance when typing. This is useful when making a list when you want all the items to be aligned down the left side. Next comes Caps Lock, which enables you to use only capital letters if you're typing English text or other languages that use Roman characters. The Shift key appears again on this side of the keyboard, and below that is the Control key. The Control key is used with other keys to make certain actions occur. For example, Control plus Enter starts a new page for you in Word documents, and Control plus Home will take you to the start of a document when you're in the word processing program. The Start key has the same function as the Start button on the desktop. It takes you to the most commonly used programs and the full program list. More about this in the Microsoft Windows chapter. The Alt button is also used in combination with other keys to produce a desired effect. We'll talk a little about this later also. The last and the biggest key at the bottom is the space bar. This is the key you will use often because it places a space between words and sentences when you type letters and other documents. We'll come back to look at other features of Word software a little later in the word processing chapter on this video. Making all these functions happen is a master software program sitting in the background of the computer. The most common master program is Microsoft Windows. This controls how everything works together, how the mouse and cursor move, how the keyboard keys talk to the computer processing unit, and how things are displayed for us to see. Master programs like this are called operating systems.